Duet Night Abyss has been out for a little less than a week, and I wanted to make a video discussing some of the community impressions that seems to have been left by the game so far. To start with, let's address the title of the video. I think the biggest problem with DNA is that the people most disappointed seem to be people who are hoping for Warframe with waifus. I'm not delusional enough to say that these games shouldn't be compared. It is very obvious that DNA was attempting to imitate Warframe greatly, which I don't think is a bad thing completely. And also, sorry for the clickbait, this is not a negative video about DNA, I actually quite like the game. However, it's always important to remember that expectation is the thief of joy. Most of the negative community responses have been that DNA has inferior movement contrast to Warframe because of the lack of fluidity and momentum. Oh, and a personal note, wall running sucks. Wall running is horrible. It's not wall running, it's jumping up walls, it's terrible, just let me climb if you have to. The enemies don't provide much of a challenge, mostly because normal enemies at least, kind of just like don't do anything. And bosses, although you can die to them, it's pretty tough if you're just fighting an overworld boss. If you just go, find them on the map, you can kind of just sit there and face tank all of their attacks. And finally, one of the biggest complaints that everyone's really had is that the combat doesn't have the same weight or complexity. Complexity, again, referring to Warframe. Most of the complaints, other than, the bug complaints about day one, I had the loading thing, couldn't play the game on the first day, that sucked. But Hero Games has done a pretty good job of hotfixing those. However, the other complaints were related to mechanics not living up to another game. Honestly, I don't think this is exactly a bad thing. People being disappointed is never fun, but I think that there's validity in the opinion that Warframe has had years to improve and grow as a game, but I also think there's validity in that DNA didn't come out 1 year after Warframe. It came out many years after Warframe. So if they were going to copy it, some of the things that don't feel as good don't have many excuses. You had the time to make either the same system or a better system. Other than that, there's some complaints that people have had on the lack of pity on the convert commission drops, but when there's RNG in a game, there will always be complaints because some people are unlucky. I may be one of them. What I haven't seen complaints about is the long-term nature of the game. There's not too many complaints about the time it takes to earn things, other than some funny comments and memes. And in terms of the combat weight, the movement, and a couple complaints about in-game models not being as detailed as the drip marketing, I think that with the constant hotfixes in the first few days, Hero Games is taking this game seriously and they're committed to it, just like Kuro was with Wuwa. I don't think that we should support games coming out of the oven underbaked, but I have a lot of hope that Hero Games is going to add that impact, add that momentum, and I think that Braxophone mentioned they had plans on improving the in-game models in the first update or two. I also hope that they will fix the computer resource management of the game. I have a decent PC, and sometimes it starts to fry, and it also freezes up a good bit inside of co-op. Also, to circle back to the beginning of the video, I've never played Warframe, so I have actually enjoyed the game quite a lot, and I think that people who haven't played Warframe, you will like this game a lot if you're into Wuwa or Genshin or etc. So this game is pretty fun. So if you haven't played it, if you're thinking about whether you want to play it or not, I don't know why you'd get this far into this video if you're thinking that, but if you haven't played Warframe, I think you'll really like it. If you did play Warframe, it's not going to be the same in a lot of those small detailed areas that give Warframe the magic that it probably does for its players. But it is very similar, and it does have waifus. Any RNG complaints that I have are just skill issue. I'm not, what can I do about that? It just is what it is. I do enjoy being able to play the game indefinitely. I like the story so far, and the movement is pretty fun to me. Again, as someone who hasn't played Warframe, the Genie Mon is a cool system. Unsuccessful feedings when I give my highest level of food is a bit painful though. I think my biggest complaint with the combat is actually the lack of dodge indication. Wuwa does this really well. Blue Protocol, which I started playing recently, does this fine. Genshin is the only game where, similar to Warframe, it just does nothing, but also Warframe, when you press shift, you get launched real far, and if you're fighting Sybil, you usually get launched into her electro barrier. It's not a good time, and there's no indication of a successful dodge, and it just doesn't feel as rewarding. Auto lock-on for ranged weapons is also a little bit less rewarding, and no ADS without shooting is a bit sad. Overall though, I think that there's some really good potential here. I'm super excited to keep playing the game. I didn't want to go too long on my first video. I hope more than 0 people watched this, and if you did, Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about the game. Did you love it, hate it, like it, but you're hopeful for it to improve? Or do you think you'll come back in a few months and see where it is after a couple of version updates? Leave it below, and I will see you in the next video whenever I get to that. Cheers.